direction, Rebel Wilson and Scarlett Johansson and Sam Rockwell are going to be joining us in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Well, that was amazing, I'm sure, for you guys. I've seen the film now 3 times since TIFF, and it was awesome every single time.
We're glad you think that.
It did.
Take that mic off him, right?
Yeah. Taika, I'm going to start with you because I know this film was sort of handed to you by your mother. She gave you the description of a book she was reading called Caging Skies, and she gave you maybe a bad Cliff Notes version of it, and then you went about writing it and you added yourself to it and humor to it, an imaginary Hitler. I'm really curious how much of your mom you put in this, because Rosie seems like she's your mom, maybe.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of my mother in Scarlett's character. Also a lot of another inspiration was Alan Burstyn in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I think it's one of the great solo mothers of cinema. We'll just wait. I like to have the curtains closed.
Please someone turn that off. Whoever started that up, please turn it off. We're doing it through me here. Thank you.
It's done now? Yep, that's it.
The next thing I was going to ask you about is you started writing this in, I guess, 2012 and took it around, and it took until recently with Fox Searchlight for them to be an amazing studio, to have, I would say, the guts to put and make this amazing anti-hate satire. So what was the biggest change from those first drafts to now? Like what did you go back to? What did you add from that first version?
Actually didn't add much at all. It didn't change really from 2011 to when we shot 2018. I wrote it and then I realized early on it's an impossible film to pitch, so I didn't bother doing that. You can't, even the first sentence just turns people off. It's about a kid in the Hitler Youth. Nope. Not into that. I'm not watching a movie about those assholes. So really, I decided just to write the script and let that be the pitch. And so I wrote the screenplay, sent it out, and it was right at that point that Jermaine and I got financing for What We Do in the Shadows. And I like to I like to write a script and then leave it for a while. I usually leave it for like a year or so before I come back to it. And instead I ended up having to leave it for 6 years because I got distracted by making 3 other films. And then came back to it, and at that point Searchlight called up and they said, we've always loved this, we want to make it. And so I had no intention of playing that role.
But they made you.
They made me, they blackmailed me. They said, we'll only make the film if you do that. And so, I mean, I thought long and hard about that for about 17 seconds and said, okay.
Roman, I'm going to bring it to you because I know that this is your first role. However, both of your parents, and that's amazing. I know. Wait a minute, how old are you now?
12.
You're 12 now. But I know both your parents work in the industry. Your father's a DP and your mother's a writer-director. You had to convince them that you wanted to be an actor, correct? Like they didn't say yes right away.
Yeah. I mean, for about a year, I was kind of going, so Mom, about the agent thing, yeah. And how many auditions did you go on before? Yeah, good one. Yeah.
He's talking to him.
80.
80 auditions.
Yeah.
This is a room
Long
full of
auditions until like 11 at night, and we had to go like Sussex to London, which is long. I mean, I get to miss school, so I'm not complaining. Yeah.
Just hold it.
Good job.
80 auditions?
Yeah.
80?
Yeah.
So what age were you when you started?
1?
Thanks, Steve.
80?
80.
Camille, his mother's here. That's inhumane.
But he wanted to do it. But
He wanted to do it?
But this is a room full of actors who I know have been on a lot of auditions.
Oh yeah, all those, yeah, because everyone started at 1 year old.
What was it like auditioning with Taika, though? What was that process like? How'd it go?
Well, it was painfully difficult because no, not Tiger. Sorry. it was hard because we had to do like Skype calls and stuff, and the Skype calls were awful. Like, they're like fixing it, so halfway through the audition they'd be like plugging things in. At one point the screen went black, and I couldn't hear him as he was giving a direction. So I was like, the TV's turned up. I don't know whether you can see me. And turned it back on. He was like,
I wasn't even
so
watching.
so every time I did an audition, which was like 3, I just thought, God, I don't know how this man is not fed up with me yet. I was like, oh no.
Did I hear an
No, you did very good, and everything that you did on screen is simply amazing. I would just say that at 10, when you film this, everybody in this room is jealous of what you were like there. It's incredible. All the young actors, Archie as well, Thomas, and you as well. When I met you the other night, and you were like, "Oh, I'm 19," I'm like, God, what? Because you've already been in like these great films like Leave No Trace, and now this, and soon to be in like Last Night in Soho. I mean, the girl, your IMDb is very, jealous. You can be very jealous of it. Oh, yay! We have somebody joining us, Mr. Sam Rockwell.
Hi!
Sam has finally arrived! One down, one to go. Thomas,
Sorry.
no, I'm glad you're here. I want to ask you about Elsie, because it's hard with your character that she's both the comedic monster in the attic that, you know, JoJo gets to play with, but then you have these scenes with Scarlett where it's just so intimate and it's like mother-daughter, and they're really your only scene partners, and you've still got to bring that character to be completely vibrant and real in all of that. So how did you do that? Because that is a really difficult task for an actor.
I think that the script from the get-go was so perfect, and the whole cast kind of had a lot of trust in Taika that he knew exactly what he was doing and what the rhythm and the tone of the film was going to be. So we kind of just had to be there and say the lines and be supportive and excited about it. But I think
Say the lines fast.
very fast. But no, I think Elsa's story is very real, and there's been a lot of, it's been told a lot of times and in different ways. But for Taika and I, we wanted to make sure to highlight the fact that, yes, of course, Elsa is a victim and she's going through something that nobody should ever have to. But she... Say that again. But she's also just a human being, and she's not defined by the Holocaust, and she's lived a life before this, and is going through puberty, and she's got crushes on boys, and I don't know, she's confused and she's scared, but she's also got so many layers to her, and she's just yearning for love, and she is missing her family, and that's why the relationship between her and JoJo and her and Rosie are so intimate and special, because she just wants someone to be there for her, I guess.
That's so sweet. Yeah, and what you did on screen was just completely brilliant. Scarlett, are your ears burning? We were just talking about you and her scenes together, so... They are. Are we on? Okay.
They're burning.
I hope you're on, because I was going to ask you a question.
I could use it.
But if not...
Does it? Oh.
Yay! Well, thank you. I'm glad you were here. And then I'm also going to throw it to the audience for a couple of questions, so if you guys have them, just raise your hand and I'll repeat it for everyone. Scarlett, glad you could be with us here. You've had a good year. This has been all right. You started with the little independent film, Avengers Endgame. I don't know if any of you guys saw that. And then you end it with these 2 roles that are Oscar-worthy and heartbreaking and hilarious as 2 moms of small boys, and Marriage Story, and then of course JoJo Rabbit. And I think both of them are brilliant, and you're going to spend a lot of time talking about them for the next year. Don't be mad. She's in another movie, I know.
Not aware. Not aware of what Scarlett's up to.
But I know that these are the first 2 times you've played a mom since being a mom, and I know that that probably colored your performance a lot. So talk about bringing, you know, what you learned as being a mother to these roles, and then also, which of the 2 maybe are you most like of those 2 women between Nicole and Rosie?
Be very careful.
Mike could break at any moment. Yeah.
How did you get the microphone again?
Take it off her.
So sorry.
What the hell's been going on?
The kids are drunk.
Thank you so much. That's a very, very kind introduction. And yes, I think actors, I don't necessarily think that an actor has to share, you know, in the life of their character. I think you kind of get to where you need to go, however you get there, you know. But I do think that you have to have empathy for your character, whoever they are. And for me, when I had my daughter, I felt like my capacity to love suddenly, like, it became infinite. And I had the experience of, which was one that I had never had before, knowing, just feeling that I would do anything for this person, anything. I would give anything for their happiness and their safety. And you know, that helped me. Of course, it was incredibly helpful. I mean, it just gave me a lot to draw from. I don't know how I could have done it any other way. I could have done it, I guess, but it was just very fortunate that I had that experience. It gave me a lot to work with. And I also had this wonderful young actor in Roman who's so lovable as a person, and just, he's a delightful person to be around, and full of a lot of light in life and positivity and hopefulness. And so it was easy for me to feel maternal towards him, and then I just had to say the words, and then that's it, you know. I don't know, I guess I've probably been both of those characters in different times of my life, in some way or another.
I bet the comedy of Rosie is probably a little bit closer to you. I bet you were joking around, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a really, my parents were very funny. My dad has a very dry Danish sense of humor, and, you know, is very ironic. And my mother is, you know, Jewish New Yorker, and she's extremely blunt, and nothing was off limits in our household, so we laughed a lot. And humor is something that's always been really encouraged in my family.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna ask one more, and then I'm gonna throw it to the audience. This is kind of, I'm gonna leave it up for anyone. The reaction to this movie has been just insane, from winning the audience award at the Toronto International Film Festival, which was incredible, to then Fantastic Fest and the London Film Festival. And both audiences and critics are just like raving about it. And I wonder if any of you have had a particular reaction from someone, because I think once people see this film, they want to like come and talk to you and tell you about, you know, how it made them laugh or cry. So I know, Stephen, you were at Fantastic Fest. Did you get any? Austin people are not shy. I'm an Austin person, so I can say that.
Yes, it was very good. It was nice. No, I think, I mean, the thing to me that was so exhilarating, particularly in both places, was when there was a kind of palpable cheer and excitement when Hitler got kicked through a window. And I just think, you know, that's not a sentence you get to say very often. And I just think that the people have that reaction, and certainly gasps as well when, you know, when for instance, you know, Scarlett's feet are seen. And I think, you know, it's very hard to make people invest in a film that much, that they are reacting with such extreme emotions, and I think, you know, it's what you want from cinema. I think it's actually harder than it appears, and so I think it's a great testament to Taika that certainly all the audiences I've seen it with, there is that very palpable emotional roller coaster throughout the movie.
Did anyone else have a strong reaction? Rebel, I know you just got here. You've been on location. Have you been getting like texts and like calls from people?
I like one emoji or something. I don't think I'm on. Hello.
Eric, will you take mine?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product, and you know, I would just say I loved the audience reaction when we walked in today. You guys are so nice, and thank you for that. Like, yeah, it's so generous of you guys, and yeah, I'm gonna see it tomorrow at the premiere.
It's gonna be bonkers. I've seen it twice with audiences, and there's lots of cheers and lots of laughs. All right.
Both my managers are Jewish, and my manager Mitchell was asked to speak at his synagogue on Yom Kippur and speak about JOJO Rabbit, and which is something he was incredibly proud of, and really excited to share, and to just to know that this conversation is still going and people are being reminded.
Oh my God, that's so great. Yeah, this is. I think this is great because it's going to bring this film to an entire generation of kids and some young adults that don't know about the depth and despair and also the reality of the Holocaust. That's absolutely brilliant. All right, any questions? All right, the first one I saw was straight here, so.
Yeah, Taika, so I've seen you on a lot of the stuff that you've written, and it's phenomenal, but do you have a character in mind that maybe you just don't see? Obviously, you didn't go for this one saying, like, oh, I'm going to the kid level, but like for the other ones, do you have a character that maybe you just don't see in the room, you don't audition the right guy, or can you land that part, or do you see yourself in it initially, like shadows or?
I'm going to repeat it real quick for those that didn't see. He basically said, why do you put yourself in all your movies?
That's what I got from that. Trying to call me out in front of all these people. If you want to work as an actor, here's a really quick way of doing it. Spend 15 years making films. Yeah. I didn't, yeah, I mean, as I said before, I didn't write this role for myself. Don't get me wrong, I'll find a way to like wedge myself into one of my films, as you have seen in the past. The only one where I had the intention of being in whilst writing was in What We Do in the Shadows, because those are characters that Joanne and I and our friends had come up with. But the rest of them, no, like in my second film, Boy, that was kind of what you were describing, where there was just no one good enough.
That's fair.
But the rest of the films are just small, like, you know, one scene, like small little pieces. Yeah. But I will continue to do that.
Stephen, you know a little bit about that as well.
I'm one of my favorite actors. I am.
I just started putting myself in things because my first project, Ricky Gervais was the star, and I realised he was getting paid more than me. And I thought, well, this is mad. As I was doing I was doing the lion's share of the typing in the writing room, and so yeah, obviously you just stick yourself in it, and you're getting 2 checks then.
It's fun as well. It's fun to play. So, I enjoy it. Like the director version of myself really loves the actor version of myself. Because that actor, he comes to work and he's just always prepared, and he's got great ideas. He always suggests really good things. And then there's the actor version of me. I love working with the director version of me because he's just, I mean, he's always listening to me, and he's very generous with the number of takes that he'll give me as well. So really, it's a nice working relationship. And I think we'll continue to work together for a long time.
Pretty sure. All right, let me get, yes, ma'am, right here.
Congratulations to all of you. Phenomenal film. And my question is, as an actor and producer, I'd always like to ask, what would be, maybe go down the line, what was the most challenging part of the film that I could potentially learn from your challenges? If there were any, or delights, but I always like to ask that.
She projected, but I'm just going to say again, what was the challenges of filming? What was yours?
Well, sorry, Ron. You can speak first if you want. Alright, okay. Well, there was one particular scene in the film, as this is my first film. I know I'm new here. Hi, my name's Archie. Hello.
We're going to let him keep the mic for this one. Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, fine.
No, go ahead. I want to, let's go.
So, one of the scenes, it was like a massive war scene, and there was smoke, and there was sulfur in my eyes, and I basically just collapsed and fell into a tizzy, and I was just crying on the floor, and I hated it, and I was like, bruh. I really feel bad for all those people who had to go through this, and well, yeah, it was just a really hard scene to film for me because I mean, like, all these emotions going through my head, and the fact that real life children had to go through these real life things. It's like mind-blowing and shocking and just not okay. It's really, really hard to believe. I'll pass it back to Alfie now. I know I'm really
That was great. I don't think anyone's going to top that. That's a good one. Sam, I wanted to ask you really quickly. First of all, glad you're here. Do you have a mic? Okay, great.
Yes, I think yes, now I am.
Okay, great. So you've had a really varied career, like Choke and Confessions of a Dangerous Mind are two of my absolute favorite movies ever. And more recently, your Emmy-nominated work for Fosse Vernon, which is just brilliant.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. But you've had quite a run with Racist.
Yes.
I didn't say it. But I know you said you have a cap now. You're not going to do any more like
Yes,
you're full of.
I think I did it.
Yeah, and won an Oscar for one.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. But what was it about this character? Because I know Taika said that you were the only one that could really pull off this character. The tone of the movie really rests in what you're able to do on that screen, and so it's a huge responsibility.
That's nice to say. I think it's up to all of us, but I just thought it was. I mean, spoiler alert, you guys have seen it, yeah. But he's not just a regular. He's a disillusioned Nazi, you know, and he's an ex-war hero, and he's sort of, which is a weird thing to say about a Nazi, but he's gay, and I thought that there was an interesting juxtaposition about him being this sort of ex-demoted tough guy who's now is on the sinking ship, and he knows he's on the wrong team, you know. So I thought it was an interesting part.
Yeah, that brings me to, because thank you for saying it, because I'm like, two dudes with those stairs and that much accessories, let's talk about it. So there's backstory of you guys' relationship that I'm sure Taika told you about, so can you tell the crowd like what we didn't maybe see explicitly on screen, but what's underneath? Because you don't get a lot of words in this, but you're an example of how you can chew the scenery with no dialogue.
Do was untold as actor and character. But yeah, no, it was, for me, that was probably kind of one of my hardest things to get my head around, obviously the kind of delicate subject matter that this movie is about. But yeah, for me, like Scarlett was saying, you know, you kind of have to have empathy for any character you're going to play. So to kind of portray what it was like to be a gay man in those times, because there was so many homosexuals executed then, was very interesting to me. So yeah, that's kind of where most of my research led me to.
I think Sam, Taika told me that maybe there was an idea that you guys were like in these underground clubs in Berlin.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about backstory. I think that maybe we briefly met in one of these clubs. I think you should mention that. Like piano bars.
Like before 33, maybe they hung out in the Kit Kat Club in Berlin. And
yeah, I thought that was a cool backstory.
Or like where, in Cabaret, like that club that got shut down at the end. Like,
yeah.
There was a pretty good nightlife in Berlin before the war.
That's right. But Steve and I steal from other movies. I stole from Bill Murray, and he's.
Yes, I'm not going to lie to you people. I have rewatched Raiders of the Lost Ark in recent living memory. But I always liked that film, and I always liked that character, and I always liked the fact that he then got heavily typecast as that, and that's basically what he played for the rest of his career. So fingers crossed.
I think, well, you're a brilliant director as well in your own right, so I'm sure you'll cast yourself and you'll have more work. So, but no, your character was kind of terrifying, and as a fan of like The Office and Extras, it was really weird, like you coming in for this like very sort of scary lurch type character. And I heard that the accent was the scariest part for you though, and because then Taika said, "Great, you learned this accent, now ad-lib. So what was
The
that?
accent was a nightmare. I'm not naturally adept at accents, and I'd worked very carefully with a voice coach, and we'd written everything out phonetically, all the words, and broken it down into syllables, and I'd learned the script very carefully, and then we got there, and we did the script, and much of what's in the movie is the script, but occasionally Taika would be like, now let's just improvise. Pardon me? And that I found very difficult and distressing. But there was such a good atmosphere on the set. I think Taika, there was no feeling of judgment or being kind of, assessed on the accent, and so I think that kind of freed everything up. And I was a little intimidated working with Sam initially, until I realised he was struggling with his own accent, and then we were off to the races.
The accent bonded everyone. I like that. But speaking of the ad-lib, I know Taika from the interviews that I've done before. You very much like actors to go with the character and see where they go. So did any of you have an ad-lib that you particularly liked? Like I know Rebel, Sam, maybe you guys. Did y'all have anything that you added in?
Like Rebel and Steven did.
Did you guys do
You guys
it?
had a longer rope, so to speak. Right?
I think it's because I didn't really know
What these characters were.
Yeah, and I knew more about like what you were with Rebel. I was like, I don't know who you are, man. This is like just try a few different things. And so I've read the
Taika would really encourage me to go really full on Nazi in parts, and as some of the dialogue that Taika wrote of mine was actually from real teaching manuals at the time, so they sound like jokes, but actually were real sentences from the manuals. But then it would feel really weird. Obviously, we're being satirical, but it would feel very weird improvising. And one time, Taika's I'd just go on a run about Jewish noses, and keep going, and then the head of Fox was behind the monitors. Did have a really big nose, and I didn't know he was watching. And you feel really weird about it. I also felt weird, I would get a lot of laughs from the crew, but in a way that sometimes you're
You shouldn't be laughing that hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Neither of us were laughing at the end of it. We just felt embarrassed and sad.
Yeah, I know, because you're trying to make a satirical point about how ridiculous it is to think like this. And then
make your character so unlikable.
Yeah.
And then the crew we love this.
And then one guy on my last day goes, "Oh, we're so sad you're leaving. So we like those penis jokes, and there's something very interesting."
What about you, Stephen? What'd you add?
I just remember there being a long discussion with Taika about Hitler only having one ball, and that was certainly something I had heard. I don't know if you've heard this, kids. It was just something when I was a kid I heard.
Well, he did tell us to go bonkers, didn't you?
Yeah, pardon me?
I think Taika did tell us to go bonkers.
To go bonkers.
A bit.
Sorry, I was talking
That's
about
what I
kids' testicles, but carry on.
Well, you could go on with his testicles. I know. I'm sorry. I'll just.
No.
No, actually, we should just keep.
Anyway, Taika was just. Well, what I got from it was one scene, just go bonkers. Pick up books, throw them into a fire. Pick up books, go into a fire.
I think the direction was pick up books and throw them in the fire.
Yeah, I know.
Not go bonkers.
I know, but originally everyone went bonkers.
You're just describing what the mood was like.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I didn't tell them.
I don't know what I'm speaking
I
about.
didn't tell them to go bonkers. Okay.
We got it. We definitely got
nudge,
bonkers.
wink.
Very clear.
Rebel kind of had a great piece of effort though, which gave birth to some clones. It was a good
Oh yeah. So Roman's brothers are over here, aka the clones of the film.
No, guys, stand up.
Stand up,
Get your
stand up. So cute.
Get your dude.
And they play all the clones. And that just came from one joke that we tried, and then and then we had to get them in more scenes. Yeah.
Love that. I do
This
love it.
family's a one-stop shop, isn't it?
It really is, man.
We've got the leading man. Do you need some clones? We got a couple here in the back.
I mean, if he wasn't busy on Marvel movies, we could have a DP, so we're good to go. I'm just kidding. No, y'all were great. I wanted to definitely ask you, Roman, about the scene that Stephen referenced, which is in a PG-13 film for the British and unenunciated, you only get one F-bomb, and that's the only one you get. And in typical Taika fashion, you gave it to the youngest person on set to kick Hitler in the balls. So just break that down for us, Roman.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I purposely missed every time so I could see Hitler fly out the window. But that's the funnest part of shooting, to see him fly out the window and hurting his back, the poor stunt double. But it wasn't Taika, obviously.
It wasn't me. I wouldn't do that. Not dumb.
Did your mom care that you kept on having to do the F-bomb? She didn't care.
Chance, I swear all the time at home, I'm not gonna lie. I would say it's appalling to swear, but no. It was quite fun actually. We did like experiments on it on set. They're like, try this one where you're kind of like more loose about it, and it's like, try this one with more anger about it. It was fun. It was like, and then there's one bit where I just screamed, like, but. Anyway.
Scarlett, I'm gonna finish up with you before maybe we do.
Oh God.
Oh no! Before we throw to a couple more audience questions. But no, I do think Rosie's like such an important character, such a great character in this story, because in all of this ridiculousness that you guys put on stage, that was so great, and definitely she gets her laughs too. She's like the serious side of this story, and she really kind of rests with that gravity of it for so many tragic reasons, obviously, and then also just how she's the only person. She seems like she's the only adult that's not gone crazy. And I think that, just the way you delivered that was incredible. But it's probably hard to play the straight man up against all of this. So talk about, executing on that one.
I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't know necessarily that the character's the straight man. She's very whimsical, and she lives in a sort of, she creates this kind of imaginary play, with her son, and I think in her mind she's just a very colorful person, and I think while she creates this kind of bubble for her son to exist in, so things that don't make any sense somehow make sense. She also is a responsible parent and shows him what's at stake, and she's trying to teach her son to be a compassionate and empathetic person, and so she's many things. She's multifaceted, and I mean even being, it was wonderful on set because it felt like everything that we did had such a kind of musicality to it, and even the scene that Roman and I have across the table from one another was initially kind of one thing, which are two people kind of sharing that have these secrets, and they're both really angry at one another, but they're also sharing niceties, but they're also really angry at one another, and then all of a sudden it becomes this kind of, Rosie looks across the table and sees this petulant person who represents everything that she hates, and it's also her son, and she's just missing her partner so much and is so at her breaking point, and then it becomes this weird other thing where she kind of snaps and plays her, kind of embodies her husband, and then looks back and sees she's just screamed in the face of her son, and they're both missing this man, and it's just, there was so much to play all the time. The scenes were so dynamic, they were playful, they were poignant, they had a childlike whimsy, and then they would be, really profound, and I think that sentiment is all throughout the script, and that's very much a part of, that's how I see Taika. That's he has all those sides too, and you've had that all in the whole script and all the writing.
Yeah, you were kind of, it's fine. You got a lot to it. It's very good. Are you happy? You're looking at me.
Thank you.
You can tell he's touched because he's got nothing to say. We think we have like a couple more we can do. Yeah. Okay. So right here. Yeah.
Yes. For Taika, other than kicking him in the balls, is laughter the best weapon against Nazis?
Yeah. I mean, there are other weapons, but like right now, yeah, laughter. Yeah, comedy is always, I take great offence when people say that comedy is not a like a valid art form, or it's not a it's not an effective tool to use in storytelling or to convey deeper messages. I think it's actually one of the strongest weapons, and especially against bigotry and dictators. And, and there's a very long and strong tradition as well. That I think some people now and then you hear like, are you sure it's the right time to be, using humour, mixing humour with this subject matter? But it's 80 years this year since The Great Dictator came out, and so it's there's a fine tradition of comedy being used in this way, and I think with comedy, like what's great about it, what's really powerful about it, is that it allows audiences to relax into a story. They often you see audiences, and then when they laugh, they cross their arms, and they're more receptive to to either the next joke or to the next idea, and to if you have like a message, comedy is sort of like their way to subvert the situation and then deliver a payload after that. And so, which is why I love using it, and I love using it this way and mixing tones like this. And also, dictators hate being made fun of. People like that, or people who like to spread hate and spread ideas of intolerance really don't like being laughed at, because essentially they're bullies, and if one of the best ways to fight bullies is to make fun of them and to pick holes in their beliefs, and they just can't stand it because they're egomaniacs.
I think we can do one more, and I'm gonna go right here.
I absolutely loved it. I cried, I laughed. I mean, there was just so many moving moments from every character. I would like to know, how did you come about casting this beautiful and amazing cast, and how did you guys feel when you received the script and you've read it?
Okay, so ask about the cast and casting all of these. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Y'all are great.
Children we found on Craigslist. I just went straight online with Nazi kids. And so that was that. And turns out there were lots of them. I think it was, I typed in clumsy Nazi kids.
Nice one.
Thank you.
All I needed to say. I'm out. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for interrupting everything.
Oh no, you were great. You were great. It's
He's
just
fishing
like,
for that.
I know.
He's a manipulator. He's just getting into your minds, trying to get sympathy out of you. Don't believe him. Don't fall for this.
Wait a minute, Sam. I would like to hear your answer for this, because I know you read the script and immediately signed on, right?
Yes, Archie, I love your ensemble, by the way.
Thank you.
Very snappy. I just know the script was brilliant. I mean, everyone here can tell you about that. I mean, it just blew the top of my head off. It really was, when you read it, it was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. It was an ambitious endeavor, and I think Taika really pulled it off.
I think we all can agree on that. And we can actually end on that. I want to thank, again, the cast and filmmakers of JOJO Rabbit. I want to thank you all for being here, and Fox Searchlight. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for all the kind